Welcome to the Something Good podcast, hosted by Renee Mueller, powered by kwELITE. This is where we interview top business professionals, industry insiders, operational managers, and thought leaders from around the nation, diving into hot current topics to help you experience something good.
So welcome to Something Good edition. This is actually one of my favorite subjects to talk about. Today we're going to talk about alumni, and that is why Ryan Bock is with us. So Ryan, you and your wife Carrie are both from Columbus, right? Mm-hmm. And you moved away and then decided to come back. So I want to talk a little bit about what your path was, why you decided to come back, and where we're going from here. So
Sure. So I grew up north of town by Platte Center on a farm, went to Lakeview, then went to the University of Nebraska, moved to Iowa for about 6 years following a job. My wife followed me over to Iowa, and then...
Oh, that was sweet of her.
Yeah, I don't know why she did
Were
that.
you guys high school sweethearts?
Well, she was in high school, I was in college when we met, but yeah, something like that. So high school sweethearts, if you want to call it.
Yeah, okay.
But
so how did you guys meet then?
I was still working here in the summers at Super Saver, so Super Saver sweethearts, I guess.
Oh, that's where she shopped, huh?
Well, that's where she worked.
So
okay.
I didn't know
We both
that.
worked there.
Oh, perfect. All right, so you met at Super Saver.
Met at Super Saver.
Aisle 9.
Yeah. Clean up on
Okay,
aisle 9.
awesome. I love it. I love that story. Cool.
But anyways, when I got that job, we moved over there, and then we started getting ready to have kids, and we both of our parents obviously still lived here, so we decided we wanted to move back home so grandma and grandpa on both sides could be around the kids and help out.
Yeah. What's funny and interesting to me is that I bet 99% of the people who we've interviewed who are alumni say that same thing. Well, it's family. Family's still here. So rather than the grandparents following and moving to wherever you are, you're moving back here. So that's interesting.
Well, it's not only the parents, the grandparents.
Yes,
I've got a lot of aunts and uncles, cousins, nieces and nephews, things like that around here too. So, for instance, my first cousin is the principal at the school that my son is going to now. So St. John's Lutheran out north of town.
Oh, really?
So Natalie Evans, used to be Natalie Brock, is
Yeah.
now the principal.
I didn't know Natalie
there.
was. Yeah, awesome.
She's the principal of my son's school.
Yeah.
So
she was one of my daughter's teachers at Emmanuel. So
a lot of close connections. And so a lot of his cousins are going to be his classmates going through school. And I had that kind of situation growing up through my school. She was in my classes half of the time, 2 classes. So every other year I had my sister in one class above me and her in one class below me. So it's just very, very nice to have, a lot of family, people around you when you're growing up.
Yep,
So.
tight-knit, very tight-knit. So, and as well as that comes opportunity. So, I think your wife is working at the Columbus Community Hospital right now, right?
Well, she's working at the hospital part-time, and then as well as Linda Price accounting firm part-time as well, too. So.
Okay, so she's a numbers gal. I think maybe I knew that, but okay. Okay, and so what do you do, Ryan?
So I work for a yeast company based out of Canada, Montreal, Canada. So I'm a technical service representative for them. So we sell yeast to ethanol plants all over the country. And then I work from home and travel to these ethanol plants. When they have trouble with fermentation, I troubleshoot that, make their fermentation better, help them to get more profitable, more ethanol out of a single kernel of corn.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Says you.
Sounds like it sounds like a really cool process, honestly. I'm always intrigued by new things. Like how do you study a kernel of corn and how much ethanol comes out of that?
So obviously in every ethanol plant they have a lab, and so as they're fermenting, as they're making the grain of corn into sugar, we monitor all of that, and then as the ethanol is made by the yeast, we're monitoring all of that, so we adjust the amount of chemicals that are going into the process and coming out of the process, and so we adjust and fine-tune everything so that the yeast are happy. It's a biological process.
Right.
So just as you have to work out and fine-tune everything to make your body run smooth, you have to fine-tune everything to make the yeast happy.
That's a really good analogy. Yeah, I love it.
So
awesome.
we have to do all these little tweaks and adjustments to make the fermentation run nice and smooth. And we're talking about huge tanks here. Just like if you're brewing beer, you have a tank. So you put little tiny tweaks into it to make your beer taste better.
Right.
We're going to fine tune and make the alcohol better out the back end. So we're talking about 730 to million gallon tanks here. So one little tweak can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That is absolutely incredible. So yeah, I talk to people all the time that do different processes. There's a gentleman recently I spoke with who's a CFO at a manufacturing company out of Kearney, and he looks at like the bits of steel that drop off of some of these machines and how much waste that is and what that attributes to the budget. So it's really interesting, all the things that you can do similar to that process. So yeah, interesting. So you're sort of in cost savings then for the company you work for.
I mean, so it depends on what I'm actually working on. Like just today, I was working with a plant out in western Nebraska that was having trouble. They were passing a little bit of sugar out the back of their plant. The yeast weren't using it up completely. So we were tweaking where they were putting an ingredient in their process to try and use up the rest of that sugar. So
that's interesting.
They didn't think there was an issue, but I looked at the data and found there was an issue. So less of a cost savings, more of a production generation. They're going to make more ethanol, hopefully waste less corn,
right?
To get more production out. So.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so what else do you and Carrie like to do? What do you like about Columbus? And besides family, was there anything else that brought you back here?
So obviously, our son's going to St. John's out there. We love the church. We love the family, the community, about the town. It's just a very strong local community brought us back here.
Yep.
So
good. Well, and I know you and Carrie are looking at the potential to build here real soon. Has your house even started yet?
So we have not been able to start. There's just a lot of moving parts. Our contractor is working with our designer, and so our designer was kind of delayed us a little bit. So we're working with Jars Construction north of town here.
Yep.
And so they're kind of pushing us to wait till spring now, just because of how all the supply chain issues are backing things up. But because we've sold our house, we're waiting a little bit longer here to get things moving. But the build process is taking forever. It seems like
it's kind of stressful. So how's your wife handling it?
She's handling it better than me, I think.
Is she? So, well, that's good to know. So yeah, I know that being a numbers gal especially, she's probably looking at all that, and it is kind of stressful. So and I know Carl is a busy guy, so he's doing one of the commercial projects that we have not far from here off 38th Street for an accounting firm actually, and some other tenants that will go in there as well. So yeah, I know he's very busy, and it seems like everyone you talk to has the same issues, if you will. So I mean, finding subs, getting everything within budget, timeline is a big deal, and the costs are fluctuating so greatly. Now lumber's going up again. So
that was actually the biggest issue, was the subcontractors were all booked out so far that they told us that if we started, they'd get something started and they wouldn't be able to get it done before winter.
Right.
So
I just had this conversation with a housing committee member that we met with upstairs, and I said, the biggest issue to me is that subs are about a year out. I mean, all of them, doesn't matter what industry, so that is a big deal, getting some additional people into those trades. Yeah.
Well, and some of them have things, they have enough people, they have enough stuff to do, but they can't get the product
as well.
So
yeah. Exactly.
They'll get a project started, but then they can't finish it. So
you got that right.
The one contractor we're talking to said, "Hey, we can get your basement dug, but even if we get the concrete in, we can't do anything after that. So we might have it ready to go, but then you're going to sit with an open basement and nothing to do.
Yeah.
And it'll fill up with snow, and then next year when you do get all your parts in, you'll have a basement full of snow, and you'll have to dig it back out and redo this, and it'll just cause more problems. Your sides will start caving in.
Or... So typically where we were seeing, maybe 5 or 6 months to build a house, it's definitely stretched out, that process. So are they telling you it's going to be better in the spring?
So by spring, like, we're buying a lot of stuff right now. We're stockpiling doors,
I can just see
windows,
it, right? Lights,
rafters, lights, hoping that the price either goes up and we bought it and we're doing the smart thing, or that we have all this stuff stockpiled so that it'll go up in 3 months once we actually start, rather than 6 to 9.
Yeah, 10. Most definitely. And then you have the likelihood of rates creeping up a little bit more.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of a gamble, isn't it?
And that's the other thing too, is that we're hearing these talks about the Fed raising interest rates, and so that's kind of making us nervous too.
Yeah,
that
it's already
we're
happening.
going to lock in this mortgage, and instead of a 1.9 to 2% rate, we're going to be at a 5 or 6, and
which is still good, right?
Which is still decent,
come on,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, my first purchase was 8. So, I sound like one of the, like your parents probably, back in the 80s.
Yeah, back in the 80s, we were at 24%. And
right.
We thought we were king of the hill when we got to 16.
Yep. Yep, that's right.
If we saw 16, we'd all die, right?
Oh, don't even say it. Don't even say it. So, So yeah, well, I wanted to let you know I do appreciate you coming in because, like I said, one of my favorite topics is discussing alumni and really the big reason why people come back to Columbus, what they do, what there is to offer, because that has been a little bit of a struggle with recruiting people, letting them know really what's out there and why people would be here. So it's more than just industry; it's more than just families. It's a combination of many things, and I think Columbus has a lot to offer. And so if there's anything else you want to add, now's the time to do it.
So, I mean, my son is just getting into wrestling out here at Lakeview as well. So, I mean, the school system, obviously Lakeview just won a football championship too. So
I know,
obviously
right?
there's some good,
It's crazy.
good sports here, good teams. Humphrey St. Francis is always good at sports. They're always in the championship game. So there's a great community all the way around the county. So it's not just Columbus; it's the entire area is.
Agreed. Yeah,
really
we have some
good,
great schools, honestly. So high schools, grade schools, numerous options to choose from, and so I would agree that that's a big deal as well, and they're very involved.
And so even if you're not in Columbus exactly, Columbus proper, there's a huge community. Like the whole area is very tight knit, very tied together. So
Yep. You and I are going to be neighbors soon if you ever get your house built.
if I ever get the house built, so.
That's right, exactly. All right, well, good deal. Well, I appreciate you coming in, and let's just keep growing. How about that?
Sounds great.
Thanks, Ryan.